Alright, so we need to talk about the secure boot situation going on right now with both Battlefield 6 and Black Ops 7 now requiring you enable and activate secure boot on your PC in order to be able to play both of those games. And if you don't know, the whole point of secure boot on paper is to make it much more difficult for someone to cheat and hack a game on their PC. Because theoretically, if Secure Boot is active on your computer, it verifies that all the software that's on your PC is legitimate and is not malicious, and therefore makes it much easier for the game to detect whether or not you're using unauthorized software, aka cheats. And also what Secure Boot and TPM 2.0 does is makes it a lot easier for the games to implement hardware bans. So they can detect, oh, this actual machine has been banned previously from a game, so you can't just simply log out, create a new account, and start all over again. Like, your entire PC now is banned from playing these games. Now, that all sounds great on paper, right? Oh, it's going to be a lot harder for cheats, because cheating has been an issue, especially on the PC side of things, but really across all platforms, since crossplay is a huge aspect of online gaming these days. So a lot of people are celebrating this, especially console gamers, who this doesn't really affect, because theoretically it just makes it harder for the PC gamers to cheat, and obviously if you're on a PlayStation or Xbox, you don't have to worry or do anything with secure boot or anything like that, because it's a console, and that's not really a thing. But there are several problems that this actually creates. One thing is that I still seen so many videos, so many clips of people cheating in the Battlefield 6 beta, despite this being implemented, despite the secure boot and TPM requirement. That is one thing. So you're not really fully solving the problem and getting rid of it, because it seems like it's still there and the cheating is still going strong. And the other thing is that it's not as simple as changing your settings and checking a box on your computer settings. You have to go into your BIOS and mess around with your motherboard and the settings on there that, yeah, your average person that is not very tech savvy is not going to just simply know how to do. And since right now it's only 2 games, well, 3 games, Valorant is another game that requires it, but I can't think of any other game, any other online game that has this as a hard requirement to play. So yeah, out of those games, but there's so many. There's literally thousands of more online games that you can play that you could just simply be like, you know what, I can't be bothered with this because this is too complicated for me, and I'm just going to check out and do something else with my time. Because, yeah, it really is not a simple process whatsoever. If you're not someone who is very tech savvy, and I imagine the average Call of Duty player, even on PC, is not tech savvy and does not know how to do this advanced stuff on their PC. I am one of those people. I tried to do it months ago to play Valorant again, because I haven't played it in years before Secure Boot became a thing for that game. And I remember spending over an hour, actually 2 hours. I restarted it turned off my computer like 5, 6, 7 different times to try to get into the BIOS settings to get this shit to work properly. And I enabled Secure Boot, it said it was active, and then it just ended up still saying that I need to turn Secure Boot on, and it didn't work. And so I pretty much got locked out of the game. I could not play Valorant. I was going to make a video for Valorant in 2025, but that ended up not happening because of this bullshit. And it seems like I'm probably also not going to play either Battlefield 6 or Black Ops 7 based on these requirements that are just too much of a hassle and a pain in the ass for me to really be... I'm not really a huge Battlefield Call of Duty person anymore. That's why I kind of try to expand my horizons on this channel and play other games and not just be the Call of Duty / Battlefield guy. So that's one thing, is that my interest was already waning. So, you know, like, I feel like these games need to work hard to pull me back in. Not me try to work hard in order to be able to play the game at all. You know what I'm saying? So that is a huge hurdle. And then there's other stuff, like all these posts I've been seeing of people trying to do it to get into the Battlefield 6 beta, and they end up bricking their PCs and literally, like, destroying their machine, trying to mess with their BIOS and their motherboard. So I'm like, this is not worth it for me to dick around with this and possibly ruin my $2,500 gaming PC when I'm not really that excited about these games in the first place, right? And the other thing is that there's so many games on my backlog. There's literally probably 100 if we're going to be honest. Like, there's so many games that I have on Steam that I haven't even started playing yet, which is definitely a problem that I have. But my point is, there's so many other things I could do with my time, and it seems like an unnecessary risk for me right now. You look at the Battlefield 2042 also recently required it for Secure Boot, and if you look at the Steam reviews, it's overwhelmingly negative because of so many people having problems, either with their performance not being as good suddenly because of this shit, because they fucked around with their settings, and also just their PC being bricked, or just them not still doing everything correctly, and it just still not working for them. And plus, if you have a Windows 10 machine, you're pretty much essentially locked out from this game, because there are many Windows 10 PCs that do not even support this at all, the whole TPM and Secure Boot thing. So it doesn't make any sense to me, because these are franchises that are both still very relevant games. I mean, you could see all the hype with the Battlefield 6 beta and Black Ops 7. There's not as much hype going on right now, but with that, people are saying, oh, this is going to be the year. This is going to be the year Battlefield beats Call of Duty. Well, you had Infinite Warfare and Battlefield 1, and Battlefield 1 was a much better game, and Infinite Warfare still destroyed Battlefield 1 in terms of sales, and it wasn't even close. So I suspect the same thing is probably going to happen, but with Game Pass and them essentially giving the game away for free, maybe this might be the time that Battlefield 6 overtakes Call of Duty, and you actually have the Battlefield game outselling Call of Duty for the first time ever. Who knows? We'll see how that goes. But the other aspect of it is that while these franchises are both very popular, they've also been waning in popularity and are nowhere like they were before, like a decade ago. So, them implementing this new system that essentially alienates a good chunk of the player base, and people that would otherwise enjoy your game, they would buy it, they would play it, they would support it, you're locking out so many players from your game, and it's just a head-scratcher to me, because you would think that they would try the hardest they can to bring in as many players as possible. This does the exact opposite of that, and alienates people, and doesn't seem to actually solve the cheating problem like many people assumed it would. Because this was being celebrated a couple of days ago all across social media. People like, yeah, this is a great thing, at least on Reddit. But then you look at the actual comments of people, like in these specific videos, like these tutorials, and, any video covering the whole Secure Boot situation, and you just have so many comments on those videos sharing horror stories about what it did to their computer and how much fucking trouble it was to just simply get the game working when it worked perfectly fine before and you had no problem like playing literally every other game on their PC. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I mean, if this becomes a hard requirement, like in the future, if Call of Duty and Battlefield is setting the bar for the industry, they're setting an industry standard now, because these are two of the biggest franchises, so maybe other games are going to follow, and it's going to become a widespread thing. The cheating problem's not going to be solved, so you're not going to notice a material benefit from this becoming a hard requirement across the board. So it's not going to actually be a positive for anybody. Case in point, look up all the Battlefield 6 beta videos and people cheating, because there's a thing where you can connect remotely to a second PC that actually has all the cheats and all the malicious software installed, so you can theoretically still do the whole Secure Boot thing and still circumvent the entire system and end up cheating anyway. So that's one thing. And the second thing is that, okay, so now we're doing hardware bans, because that's the thing that you're now able to do, that they're now able to utilize with this TPM Secure Boot requirement, is that, as I alluded to earlier, now they can detect the exact hardware that you're using, and that this hardware was previously used for cheats. Well, now the cheater can offload their PC, and they could sell it on the secondhand market, and some poor motherfucker who thought they got a good gaming PC now is banned from all these games that they haven't even played before. So that's going to be really bad for the consumer, especially, people who buy stuff secondhand. All their hard-earned money pretty much going down the toilet because they are banned from playing games that they didn't even cheat or do anything wrong in, but because the previous owner of the PC cheated, now they have that logged into their system. And it doesn't matter what you do. You can log into a new account, you can do whatever you're still banned completely from the game. Similar to the PlayStation and Xbox, where if someone does some horrible shit, their account is not just banned, the entire console sometimes gets banned and bricked. So now we're headed towards that direction for PC, which is a very scary thing, because that was one of the huge advantages that PC had over console, was not having to worry about that bullshit. Well, now that seems to be no longer the case, which, I mean, hopefully this fails. I mean, that's the best case scenario for all consumers and for everyone, is that this secure boot thing turns off so many players and their sales are so much lower that they have to get rid of the requirement. That's what I hope happens, because otherwise we are fucked if this becomes a mainstream thing. I mean, I'll just stick with single player if this is actually... But yeah, I'm pretty much locked out from playing Battlefield 6 and Black Ops 7, which is very frustrating. I'm just going to say that. So we'll see how things go and how this actually works and what this actually does for these games, and if it impacts their sales and their player counts. I suspect it definitely will. Like, if someone like me, who is definitely slightly more affluent with technology than the average person, I think is a safe thing to say, I'm still having issues myself. So I think, if I am, there's so many other people. I mean, you could see, like, all over the internet, people having problems with this shit. There are better ways to address cheating, and we're talking about the two biggest fucking companies in the entire industry that can't figure out their cheating problem, and despite them having pretty much unlimited resources, they still can't figure out how to solve this issue, and they're resorting to something like this because they can't get their shit together, even though, like, there are so many other games that don't have nearly as much of a problem with cheaters. Much smaller games with, companies that have a lot less money to even, put resources into somehow don't have as much of a cheating problem. But that's interesting, isn't it? And also, like, why don't we just have how it worked in the older Battlefield games, where you just simply had a vote kick system, so if someone was cheating, you can just get rid of them, and they're gone. And also having active admins and community servers and all that kind of stuff is way more effective at addressing cheaters than bullshit like this that's only going to cause more harm than good. So yeah, this is just another example of gaming becoming just so much worse and so much more of a hassle over the years, and it's not really fun anymore because of this shit. And I've already had so many problems previously over recent years playing Call of Duty specifically on PC with the shaders and random performance issues whenever the game's updated, not being able to install the game on Game Pass because for some reason Microsoft only allows you to install Game Pass games on your C drive, your default drive, which I only have like 1 terabyte of storage for. Meanwhile, I have one that has 8 terabytes and another one that has 8 terabytes, so I have 16 terabytes of free storage, but Microsoft says, no, you can't use that, you're not allowed, even though with every other platform like Steam, it's not a problem. And I guess I could just buy the game on Steam, but it's not worth it. These games are just not worth the time, the hassle, the aggravation. You know what I mean? Like, they're asking way too much. Like, I think this is a very drastic measure to take, considering the fact that, yeah, cheating has been a problem. It is a huge problem with Call of Duty and Battlefield, but I wouldn't say it's as significant of a problem where, like, every other game that I'm playing, in multiplayer, there's a cheater and there's a hacker, and so therefore this drastic measure must be taken in order to, have the cheating issue under control. Like, I was able to play the game mostly fine during its life cycle, pretty much every game in the series, mostly fine, without cheating becoming such a huge thing that I had to stop playing, but now this shit is making me stop playing, so it doesn't really do anything positive for anybody. So hopefully this fails, like I said, and this just doesn't become a thing. Because if it does, we're all screwed. Well, at least all the PC gamers are.